Hello, everybody. Meteorologist Bergren here. It's 3 o'clock on a Monday, the 13th of October, 2025. Hope you've had a great day so far today. We've got a lot to talk about in the weather today, and I want to get you right over to we're going to talk about the rain chances over the next few days. So right now we are dealing with beautiful conditions outside, and it's going to probably stay pretty dry here as we go forward for the next several days. So let me bring you in right close to home. Here's the live sweep of the radar, and notice there is nothing going on. I mean, there is zero, zilch, nada out there on this Monday evening. It's just fantastic. It feels crisp. It's lovely outside, and there's really nothing to talk about. I mean, it's just lovely outside right now when you consider there's no humidity, it's dry, things are very nice on a Monday. Across the southeast, though, they are pretty different to our north. In fact, we're still dealing with that nor'easter up in New England. In fact, you see it right here. Big swirl up here of low pressure, onshore winds into New England. This is the storm that gave us the weather on Friday that tracked up the East Coast and is now right here. Then it's going to exit off the East Coast going into tomorrow and especially Wednesday into Thursday. On the high-res visible satellite, it actually is quite interesting as you've got tandem areas of low pressure. Now, this is the super-duper high-res satellite, which first of all for us here, there's not a lick of clouds. In fact, there's a couple of clouds in St. Johns County, a couple of clouds from Indian River down towards Miami-Dade and Broward, a couple of clouds from Collier County down into the Everglades, but most of the state is cloud-free out there on this Monday. But on the super-duper high-res satellite, which is why you see it cuts off, this view of the satellite, we call this the domain, is only right here. So this is what the satellite for this higher resolution is showing. I want you to look. It really is fascinating. You can clearly see two spins, one there and one there. We've got a double-barreled nor'easter, essentially. I mean, they're connected. But here's low pressure that impacted the Carolinas over the weekend. Here's low pressure sitting off of South Jersey, and both are doing this funky little dance with each other where the air is going like this and like that around them. And around the bottom one, we're getting a strong push of northerly flow into Florida, which is what's bringing down the drier humidity and the more comfortable air. I'll let you see that full screen. It really is pretty fascinating to take a look at. Now, on the visible imagery, we'll make this the full domain, and I'll take the banner off because it's just kind of in the way there. But notice, it really is fascinating. Let me make this like a 4-hour loop, do 15 minutes. I mean, you can clearly see the two storms. It really is fascinating. There's a storm here and a storm right here, and you've got very strong onshore flow to the Jersey Shore, Long Island, and Connecticut. Very strong flow here from the northwest, and both are influencing our weather. Now, on the infrared satellite, you really can't see a lot because there's not a lot of convection, but on the water vapor imagery, you can see the very dry air getting sucked in behind this low here. And then this low here was pulling up some moisture from the Caribbean, and that's getting pushed into the tri-state area with a lot of rain that fell over the weekend. In fact, you see the rain here over the past 5 days. It's been significant. Let me turn off that stenciling so you can see the whole domain here. This is the rain. Let's just do 7 days. It includes more here. We'll turn off the stenciling. Pretty clear to see where the rain was. All on the east coast of Florida from late last week. Big rain totals in the Carolinas and some decent rain totals here from Cape Cod to the Jersey Shore, but not as much. But 3 zones of some really notable rain here over the past 7 days. Clearly, we had the big rain totals here off our east coast. We don't need to rehash that from Friday. But up in the Carolinas, some really big rain here. Look at here just around Myrtle Beach in the past 7 days here. It is white. That's 15 inches of rain in Myrtle Beach, about 6. Wilmington, about 3. You're going inland South Carolina, about 9 inches of rain. Look offshore here by where the center of that storm was, nearly 20 inches of rain. Come out further to the north here on the Jersey Shore by Toms River down to Atlantic City. See here nearly 4 inches of rain out towards the center of Philly, just 1/4 of an inch. And then up here into Cape Cod, Eastern Mass, Nantucket, you could see some decent rain in here as well that fell over the past week. We're on Facebook. We're on YouTube. Fox Local. Let me know where you're watching from if you have a question, comment, or a concern. Things are just so beautiful out there right now. We're going to have a really, really nice stretch of weather here over the next couple of days in Florida without really a lot to talk about. So let me know where you're watching from. Love to hear from you here. Again, Fox Local, YouTube, Facebook. You can let me know your question, comment, concern from Facebook. Hi, you look like you're 26 years old. I will take that as a compliment, William. William, thank you for that. I am not 26, but thank you for that. Maybe it's because my hair needs a haircut and I'm not wearing full makeup yet. So maybe that's something to do with it. Hello, Rodney. How are you?
Hello, Noah.
So William says, I can't read your full comment. It's cut off here. Will I get a hurricane on my birthday on October 25th? Well, that's a good question because you're teeing me up with what I'm going to talk about next here in the next couple of minutes. And that includes the tropics, which we have a lot to talk about in the tropics. So William says, will we have a hurricane on Halloween? William from Facebook. Thanks for checking in, William. So I'm going to take a quick break here at 3:10, and then when I come back at 3:12, we'll talk tropics because there actually is quite a bit to talk about there. But across the country today, things are really, really nice. Let me show you the temperatures out there right now. I'm having a problem with our cameras, so sadly I can't show you the cameras right now. But here's the winds. They're much lighter, especially compared to where they've been. So the surge impacts on the beaches and all that stuff is finally going to get some relief. Temperatures now across the state are really, really nice. Just 80 in Melbourne, 83 in Orlando. I mean, it's just the area you step outside and it's like, just feels amazing. Now the dew points tell the story because this is the amount of humidity in the air. And the lower this number, the more comfortable it feels. And notice it's 49 in Tallahassee. That is super dry air up in the Panhandle. Still 58 in Orlando, so it's more refreshing, but it's definitely winter-like up in the Panhandle. Meanwhile, Miami, you really got to wait probably into November most years to get like actual relief into South Florida. So you got to love hot and humid weather to be a lifelong Miami resident and a true 305 resident because it really don't cool down there for a while still. Yeah, so still hanging on to, if you can believe it. It really is crazy actually looking at this map. You've got summer humidity in Miami, fall in Orlando, and winter in the Panhandle. You really truly do have 3 seasons of how it feels across the state at this moment. So coming up here in about 30 seconds, I'm going to take a quick 2-minute break, and then we're going to come back. We're going to talk tropics, and we're going to go through the extended forecast. We're going to hear from the rest of the storm team. But it's clear tonight. Could be some fog north and west. Temperatures into the low 60s, low to mid 60s for most. The exception would be the Space Coast, where we'll fall to near 70. Highs on your Tuesday, low 80s at the beaches, somewhere into the mid 80s inland. We'll call it 84 Sanford, 85 in Orlando. Okay, so we've talked about the here and now. We do have lots to discuss in the tropics, including Lorenzo, which has formed. Lorenzo is on the map. We're going to talk to you about that and much more coming up in about 2 minutes. So keep watching here, Facebook, YouTube, Fox Local. I'll be right back, take some more of your questions, and we'll get into the tropics because, believe it or not, we do have lots to discuss there. Welcome back, everybody. 312, Meteorologist Bergren here. Hope you've had a great day and a great weekend. It has really turned out to be a fantastic Monday. Now, we're almost midway through October, but that does not mean that we are done with watching the tropics. In fact, we've got a new system to track out there, and I want to walk you through what this is first, full screen, and show it to you. So here is Tropical Storm Lorenzo. Lorenzo formed yesterday. Lorenzo is going to continue to track to the northwest. It currently has winds sustained at 50 miles an hour, moving to the northwest at 16. Now, the thing about Lorenzo is it's going to do like a lot of storms this year have done. Let me turn off the this highlighter tool here because you see that on there. Hope you've had a great day so far. Let me know your questions, comments, concerns in the comments on Facebook and YouTube. Hello, everybody. What's cooking with this right here? Let me move the camera so you can see me as I'm drawing on this. Hello, everybody. So the thing about this is it's going to do it's not going to come all the way over here, but it's going to follow the same general idea that has been the theme all year, which is that storms do this. They do some kind of a C and curve out to sea. Now, this one's going to be a lot further east than the most recent ones, this being Lorenzo right here. And in fact, Lorenzo might even do a little bit of a funkier boomerang where it's a hard right turn. In fact, it's probably going to end up something like this over the next few days. So Lorenzo, which is right here, is not a threat anywhere to Bermuda, the east coast of the U.S., Florida, or if you have a cruise in the Caribbean for next week. Now, Lorenzo, candidly, is not of really any interest to me because it's not going to impact anybody other than it's a named storm. We've literally already covered it. Now, what is my attention on? My attention is now on this wave here, right here. This is a, I choose my words wisely. I don't want to call it rare. It's not rare. Uncommon. Uncommonly late season tropical wave that has come off the coast of Africa last night into today, right here. Now, this one's a lot lower amplitude, a lot lower latitude, I mean, than recent ones. Notice, on latitude here, there's Lorenzo. Here's this next one. It's a lot further south. So likely, this tropical wave, which, by the way, the next name up now is Melissa. Remember last year, the M name was Milton. This tropical wave right here is of great interest to me because there has been an off and on signal that this may finally be a tropical wave that reaches the Caribbean, because of how far south it is, by this time next week. Now, normally, we don't see tropical waves take this path and survive this late in the year. It's been an odd year. Normally, this is something you see in August. Late July, August, through mid to late September. Definitely not mid to late October. It happens so often, but it's not really common. Now, the question with this is, and let me turn off the banner because we're talking about this tropical wave right here. So there's this that's going to go out to sea. That's Lorenzo. And this one so far south, it's going to miss the recurve. And it's going to track along here. Probably not going to do anything of notable development until it gets to the islands right here. And it won't get to the islands there until probably around the 20th. That's when it will be right there. And a quick look at the calendar reveals that the 20th is a week from today. So 1 week from today, this tropical wave should be somewhere in this box. Now, then the question will be, what does it do? Where does it go? And here's why it's of interest to me. And I am an avid, long-time believer that models are excellent, way better than people in meteorologists and weather agencies, and the public is led on to believe way better in the long range than a lot of people understand, or we as the meteorologists and the meteorological enterprise give off. You'd be shocked at how many times the models sniff out correctly at very long ranges events, lose them where they go away in the model, and then they come back like 5 days out. Meaning like 2 weeks out, we see a signal for something, it's there, it goes away, like from the day like 7 to 10 range, the models lose it. They don't do anything with it, whether it's a snowstorm, a hurricane, a blizzard, tornado outbreak, and then it comes back. And I'm saying this because there's been a signal now for like 2 weeks that this thing here could become a big hurricane in the Caribbean. It was there for a few days. It went away. Now it's trying to come back this afternoon. Long story short, just forward looking, the atmosphere in the Caribbean here next week does look actually very favorable for a system. In fact, like pristine even maybe once it gets west of that line. Now, the question would be, hypothetically, this tropical wave here would likely get a name Melissa if it forms at some point. It'll cross the islands about the 20th. Now, after there, does it get picked up by a trough, get crept into the Bahamas, and then kicked out to sea like this? Because there's going to be another big trough in the eastern U.S. at some point next week. But the question will be, does that trough, as described by that that's the atmosphere and the wind like that and the jet stream, does that trough come by when the storm is here and scoop it up and pick it out to sea? Or is the trough slower, like the Canadian model shows, it's out here, and we get a big ridge that forms over the western Atlantic, which you really haven't seen this year a lot. Now, I'll show you that in a second. What the Canadian model does today is takes this, makes it into a pretty big hurricane, lifts it north, and then it hooks a hard west because there's no escape route. Can't go north into this high middle of next week, which I'll show you. A few days ago, the GFS for several runs had a storm, became a hurricane about here, major hurricane here, and then tried to lift it north and curve it towards Florida about the middle or end of next week. Today, the European model buries this thing into Central America. Now, that doesn't mean it kills it. It could be a big storm for Central America here, Nicaragua area, Honduras, maybe a major hurricane. But the Euro has this high so strong, it keeps it so far south, it just keeps going west into Central America. Now, let me show you some of the models and talk to you about what it is I'm referring to. So, it's 3:20. We're going to take a quick break on Fox Local. We're going to continue on YouTube and Facebook. Hello, everybody. Let me know your questions, comments, and concerns. How does Crestview, Florida look like, Nora? Very good. You look like one of the astronauts on Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood at Warden. It's interesting. Never heard that one before. Good afternoon from Lakeland. Kevin, how are you from YouTube? How does November weather look? Is any cold fronts coming to Florida? Oh, yes. Hello, Glendy. How are you? Hello, Nora. What's going on, Nora? Hello, Super Sunshine. Hello. Hello, too. And Christina on Facebook watching didn't comment. Hello, Christina. How are you? Hope you're doing good. All right, so let's talk some models. So let me get into the data here. So this is the Canadian model, and I want you to look. I'll just let it play. Now, I want you to look where my mouse is moving. Look right here. I'll stop it right there. So this is by Saturday. By Saturday, today's Monday, so we don't have a blob out here yet of concern. There's not a blob out here yet. There should be as soon as tonight, I would think. As soon as tonight, we'll see a giant yellow blob off the coast of Africa, if not by tomorrow. By Saturday, the Canadian says we've got Hurricane Melissa right here. Now, I'll let it play again. Now, the question, remember I showed you, the Canadian model, as you can see right here, look over the western Atlantic, big ridge. The big ridge that's sitting there. Let me put the pressure chart on. See the 1020 here over the western Atlantic. So there's no escape route for that. I'll just let this keep playing. Nope, I jumped to the end. Sorry about that. So I'll let this play. So watch my mouse. Southern Atlantic. Here we go. We get development probably Thursday, Friday, right here. Right here are the mouses. You see 2003, 2001. So here comes Melissa. Melissa tracks towards the islands. Remember I told you about the 20th. Develops it into probably a Cat 2 or so, maybe Cat 3. Skirts north to Puerto Rico. And then watch what happens. Whoop. Look at this big ridge over the eastern U.S. This is as far as the model goes. And it starts to steer back to the west. That's what the Canadian model does. So this would be right here. This would be Hurricane Melissa. Next week, right here. That would be right there. You see Hurricane Melissa likely getting pushed west towards the Bahamas. Now, the Euro, interestingly enough, I'm going to show you the Euro. The Euro at this same time has it down in the Central Caribbean right here. And the Euro last night had it pretty similar. But again, here's the Euro, here's the Canadian. Canadian's north of the islands, pretty strong hurricane middle of next week. European model is in the Caribbean, but much weaker. Now, look what the Euro did last night. I thought this run was a little more realistic. Gets into the Caribbean, really starts to develop here. Now this is as far out as it goes because the steering kind of collapses. It just sits here, forms into a pretty big hurricane. Well, let's look at what the pressure is. 936. This is like a Cat 4 hurricane, if not, yeah, something around Category 4 Hurricane Melissa. Now, if you look at the Euro here, another big ridge over Florida. The question would be, does this get pushed west into Central America, or does this get lifted north into Florida? Which is kind of too tough to tell. The GFS today, interestingly enough, look what it does. Forms it by Jamaica. And we've got Cat 4 Hurricane Melissa threatening us in South and Central Florida the end of next weekend. So you see, the wave doesn't form until it's in the Caribbean, hits Jamaica, and then we've got, again, Category 4 or something. Cat 4 Hurricane Melissa right there, October 28th. And there you see the hurricane right there. Obviously, that would be a bigger concern for Florida. I've been long standing on the opinion here that I would be flabbergasted if there was not a tropical system of a hurricane that hit the U.S. this year. I could be wrong, and I'm not rooting for that. I'm just saying, given that there's La Nina, we're in La Nina now, it would be really statistically uncommon to have no storms of hurricane intensity in the Caribbean. No storms at all, actually. It's happened before, but it's you can count the seasons on one hand. I was looking at it over the weekend. So there's the GFS from today. See what it did last night. Again, same thing, crossed Cuba, big hurricane through the Bahamas, but it just barely misses Florida. Go to the GFS last night, it was out here and went east. Here's the Canadian today, which notice this would probably be more of a concern for Florida because with this ridge building over Bermuda, there's no way for it to go north. If this was correct, it would get probably steered right at Florida from the east, whereas the GFS has a break in the ridge, lifts it north. The point is we're definitely going to have to watch this tropical wave out here. It's late in the season. It'll be named Melissa. This here, it's not going to do anything until it's at least at this line. So for the next 5 to 7 days, it's just a nothing burger as it tracks west. And then from there, we could have some issues next week. Popular time for cruisers, very popular time. Even if this stays down in here or over here or over here, a lot of people from Florida cruisers could be impacted. Very common time to go to the Caribbean, go to the Leeward Islands, go to Cancun. So if you're vacationing next week, definitely, because I think there's a chance that the atmosphere looks prime for there to be a big hurricane if this can form. What does it do? Again, it probably would form somewhere in this circled area. Does it get lifted north? Does it get pushed at Florida from the east? Does it get steamrolled into Central America? Or does it do a long loop like this, kind of like an Ian thing, and crosses South Florida? All of which are possible. But again, that would be Melissa. So we're going to watch that for next week. But for right now and for the next several days, it's just beautiful weather, man. I mean, you can't ask for anything better. And again, we don't have a blob out there yet. We should probably as soon as tonight, I would guess, with that. So for the next few days, enjoy the lovely weather. It's going to be oh so nice. In fact, tonight will probably be the coolest night we see for several days. You see about 64 tonight, average low is 68. It'll start to get a little warmer here towards the end of the week. But definitely, it's late in the year. We've had our first cold front definitely come through. You have felt it. But I guess the takeaway, hopefully, from my long-winded discussion in the tropics is that we are far from done. And it's been an odd year, and the next thing has my attention because for weeks now there's been this signal in October that there'd be something big in the Caribbean, and this may be the one to watch. Where it goes, what it does, I don't know yet. It's way too early, but I think it's going to be a problem for somebody. Just looking at the pattern, looking at the wind shear in the Caribbean, it's ultra low next week. If something is able to get going in there, which it looks like it may, it's not a slam dunk, it may, it could be a problem for somebody, whether it's the Bahamas or Jamaica or us or Central America. And that would be named, again, Melissa for next week. So you'll definitely be hearing about potential Melissa in the news and in the weather starting over the next few days, and that would be, again, for next week. So make the most of this cool weather, everybody. I'm loving it. The humidity's lower. It's really, really nice out there, and that's because we've got this lower humidity that's come in. And the low humidity will stay with us through Wednesday. Then it'll start to get a little more humid. By the way, it'll get hotter through the rest of the week. In the beach conditions, we had the jetty wrecked at Ponce Inlet. The beach conditions will improve here over the next few days. So appreciate all of you watching on Fox Local, YouTube, and Facebook. Glendy says hello. I know. I hope you have a good week. I'll see you on TV, Alice. Would it be safe to travel from the Virgin Islands to the U.S. Virgin Islands on Monday the 20th? There's an event taking place there. Probably, but you'll definitely have to watch it for after the 20th, I would say. What about for Naples, Ray? Nothing to be worked up about at all whatsoever. But definitely in Naples and Southwest Florida, I would keep an eye on this next tropical wave that could be Melissa for next week. So everybody have a good rest of your day. Enjoy the nice weather. I'll see you on Fox 35 tonight at 5, 6, 8, 10, and 11, and we'll talk much more about the weather and the tropics. Have a good day, everybody.